Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And I'll have to excuse the quality of the video this week. It's very late and the lighting's not so great in my house when there's no natural light. And I have my glasses on, which is creating some glare. But really what's most important is that you can hear the words that I say. It's not really about the visual, so I hope that you'll still be able to take something from this video. And this week's topic is, what is self-help? How is self-help made available? What are my experiences of self-help? What do I feel has helped me? And as a facilitator, why would I encourage people to use groups and self-help to facilitate their healing? I think it's a great topic because self-help is one of those things that can be interpreted different ways by lots of different people. And I think it's important to understand that self-help doesn't necessarily mean that you are sitting on the couch or in a chair and reading a book to motivate you along the path of recovery. Obviously, that's a piece of self-help. If you are into self-help literature and you read self-help books and you find them helpful, that is certainly self-help, but that is not necessarily all that self-help entails. I think that self-help can be so beneficial purely for the reason that when it really comes right down to it, self-help is what's going to get you through to the end, to the outcome of being fully recovered or being far along on the recovery path. When it all comes down to it, it's really just about you. It comes down to you, and you can have a great treatment team, you can have great treatment centers, you can have great hospitals, great doctors, great therapists, great counselors, lots of wonderful professionals in the field who can help people get to the point where they can take it from there and do things on their own. But still, little pieces go with the self-help factor. This doesn't necessarily mean support groups, but obviously a support group would be an aspect of self-help. But self-help can mean anything from books to groups to YouTube videos like the ones that I make, to sort of forums on the internet, or even just journaling. I mean, there are all different kinds of ways that people can interpret the phrase self-help. Many of you know that I lead an eating disorder support group, and I think that support groups can be a very vital piece of recovery, both when someone is starting out and when someone is farther along, to keep them on the right track and to always have that support system in place. I know that a lot of people don't understand support groups or don't feel that they can really serve a real purpose in recovery. I know certain professionals feel this way. I also know that people who are struggling themselves feel this way, but I do think the majority of professionals and sufferers out there really do see the place of support groups and other self-help things like that. I personally think that having a place that is safe and comfortable where people can go who are dealing with the same issues and get that support is so important, because so often when you're dealing with something like an eating disorder, you feel so alone and you feel like no one really understands. And while support groups are no substitute for therapy, I always say that they are a supplement to therapy. I don't think that support groups are purely the way to go with nothing else. But support groups give you something that one-on-one therapy and treatment cannot. They give you the understanding and support of other people who are going through the same thing. It's part of the reason why things like AA have become so successful. I think being able to see people from different walks of life, at different ages, from different occupations and backgrounds, all come together and be at different places along the recovery spectrum is really great for motivation and encouragement to keep moving forward. It's also, I think, a plus when there is a group leader like myself who has been there also and can put a face to recovered and can say, hey, there's hope because here I am, and I'm not where you are anymore. And it's not anything derogatory or self-righteous. It's basically saying that if I did it, you can do it too. And to have someone like that lead a support group, I think that it lets people know that they're not alone, and two, they can achieve whatever they want to achieve, and there's proof of that thing right in front of them. One of the big reasons why I started the support group that I lead almost 3 years ago is because back when I was struggling years ago, I always wished that there was a support group in my area so that I could go and I could have the same experience that a lot of the women in my group are currently having. So I know that I personally had that desire when I was struggling, and if I did, I'm sure that there are many other people out there, and obviously the women who are in my group are proof of it. Any real process of help that is going to stick has to have some element of self to it. So self-help is an important concept in my mind. Nothing is going to stick long term unless you have taken some sort of responsibility for your actions in your life and garnered the support and are prepared to move forward. The definition of self-help is the act or state of providing the means to help oneself without relying on the assistance of others. And that's sort of what I'm talking about as far as that's what it has to come to eventually for you to live your life and be very successful in recovery and be healthy in mind, body, and spirit. The other definition of self-help is the practice of solving one's problems by joining or forming a group designed to help those suffering from a particular problem. And obviously that's what I was just talking about a little earlier. It's sort of taking the responsibility upon yourself, but you're also sitting with other people who are doing the same thing, and that support can be one of the biggest motivations out there. Back when I was in my undergraduate years at college, I participated in, I think, 3 group experiences, group therapy. And I thought they were really helpful because, one, I had never done anything like that before, so it was a new dynamic that I was experimenting with. But it was also just so nice to feel understood in a way that even my very best friends couldn't understand me, because even though they were there for me and were supportive and loved me, they couldn't get the eating disorder completely. They couldn't really grasp what it was I was struggling with. They couldn't really get inside my head and figure out what I was feeling. And I didn't have to explain myself to the other people in the group. And I think that groups are really healthy because they're not just peers. They're peers, but they also have moderators or facilitators or leaders or whatever it is that you want to call them. I mean, I'm a leader of my group, but there were 2 women who were the leaders of these support groups back when I was in them in college. And the purpose of a healthy group is for those people to steer the group in the right direction, to make sure everyone who needs to speak has a chance to speak, to make sure that things are productive, to make sure that everything ends on a positive note. I've said before, I always end the support group I lead with, what are your goals for the week? And we all go around and we state what our goal is until next time. And it's just a way of, no matter what's been said during group time, to end with something positive and to basically buoy everyone's spirits up and let everyone know that we support them in what their goal is. And I just think it's a really good way to end. Because the point of group isn't just to be there to commiserate with everyone else, even though that is a little part of it. It's not just to say, this was my week, and this is what I did, and this sucked, and this was terrible, and I hated this, and I feel so depressed, and then just leave and go on about your week and come back and do it again the next time. Because that's not productive, it's not helpful. It's helpful to a point when you vent and you get your frustrations out and you feel heard and understood, but you have to take that extra step step and go beyond that and figure out how you can improve it, how you can make it better, how you can learn from the other people there, how you can take advice, how you can make a goal for next time. I do think it's very important to do things for yourself in your recovery outside of group because, as I said a little bit earlier in this video, group is not a substitute for therapy. It is a supplement. And I think one of the reasons groups and other self-help things are so powerful and so wonderful is because a lot of people can't afford the medical piece of helping themselves in recovery, and support groups like mine, for example, is free. There's no fee. There's not even a required donation or anything like that. So it's something that people who are uninsured can go to. It's something that people who don't have a lot of money can still utilize. But it is important to remember that it can't just be group. I think when a person is farther along in recovery and they're doing well and they're healthy and they're using group as a way to stay on track and keep themselves in check, then necessarily seeing a counselor or seeing someone else is not always as important. And group may be the only thing that this person continues to do in their recovery process. And I think that's fine, and I think that has its place. But when people are just starting out, when people are struggling, when people are in the middle of their recovery process, it's definitely important to have other things surrounding you to support you and to help you with the physical aspects of your eating disorder and the mental aspects of your eating disorder. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.